Hello everyone, welcome to the Old Man and the Read. My name is Jerry. Today I'm going to discuss the books I've read by another writer I really enjoy, Bernard Malamud. Bernard Malamud was an American novelist and short story writer. He was born in 1914 and passed away in 1986. But he was a well-regarded writer. He had won several literary awards, including the National Book Award, the Pulitzer Prize, and the PEN/Faulkner Award. But he was really a good writer. I enjoyed his stories, so I'll show you the books I've read. He wrote quite a few more than what I've read, but I have read a fair amount of his. So I'll show you the books that I've read and say a little bit about them. The earliest book I have by Malamud was published in 1952, and this is The Natural. And the story is about a man named Roy Hobb. He's a top baseball prospect with a very promising career, but then he's shot by a woman. And this ends his career. But then later, after he's past his prime, he decides to make a comeback. In 1957, he published The Assistant, and this is a story about an older Jewish couple and their daughter. They own a small market, neighborhood market, but it's suffering because a newer, bigger market has moved into the neighborhood. But then the store is robbed, and the father is beaten in the robbery. And as he's trying to recover from his injuries, a young man comes into the store and offers to work for him for free, just to gain experience. The father reluctantly agrees to do that, but then that young man starts a relationship with the old man's daughter. In 1958, he published The Magic Barrel, and this is really an excellent short story collection. Some of the stories I liked. The first one titled The First 7 Years, and this is about a shoemaker who wants a better life for his daughter. Another story titled The Mourners, and it's about an old man who has lived in an apartment for years, and then his landlord decides to evict him. And then the last one I'll mention is The Last Mohican, and this is about a man who travels to Rome, but he's repeatedly accosted by a beggar. In 1961, he published A New Life, and this is a rather semi-autobiographical fictional story, but it takes place in the 1950s, and it's about a man named Seymour Levin. And he's a man trying to change his life. Seymour is 30 years old, living in New York, and he is hired to become an instructor in a college in the Pacific Northwest, in a small college town. And this is based on Malamud's. He actually taught at Oregon State University in Corvallis in the 1950s. But in the story, Malamud captured the whole atmosphere of the small college town, and he was able to give the differences between the East Coast and the West Coast. In 1963, he published Idiots First, and this is another of his short story collections. a couple of the stories I really liked. One was the the title story, Idiots First. And this is about a dying man who needs money for a train ticket to send his son to California. Then another one titled Naked Nude, which is a rather humorous story. This is about a poor man who has some artistic ability, and he's coerced into making a copy of an expensive painting so that that original can be stolen from the gallery it's in and replaced by his copy. In 1966, he published The Fixer. This is about a Jewish handyman who's blamed for murder of a young boy, but it takes place in Russia before the Bolshevik Revolution, and the handyman's name is Yakov Bok, and he's facing hard times, and then he helps a drunken man who's passed out in the snow, and then that man helps Yakov find a job, and things start looking up, but then a young boy is murdered, and Yakov is accused of that murder simply because he's Jewish. In 1979, he published Dubin's Lives, and this is a story of a married biography writer who is in his late 50s, and he has an affair with a young girl. In 1982, he published God's Grace, and in this, a man named Calvin Cohn is studying the bottom of the ocean. He's at the bottom of the ocean when a nuclear war broke out, and then God willed the annihilation of mankind with the second flood. Now this man Calvin then survived the flood, and he comes back, and he's isolated on Earth with some surviving apes, and one of the apes is a chimp named Buzz, who had been taught how to speak, and then Buzz teaches the other apes to speak, and Calvin and the apes then begin a new generation to populate the world. And the last book I have was published in 1983, and this is the stories of Bernard Malamud. It's a compilation of short stories. Many of them I had read before in some of the other short stories books, but anyway, a couple of the stories I really liked. One was The Jew Bird, and this is about a speaking crow. He's taken up residence with a family against the wishes of the father. And then another titled Man in the Drawer, and this is about an American who's traveling in Russia, and he becomes friends with a taxi driver, and then that taxi driver wants him to smuggle short stories that the taxi driver has written out of Russia. But those are the books I read by Bernard Malamud. Really an entertaining writer, and somebody I enjoyed. So anyway, I want to thank you for watching the video, and hopefully I'll see you on another. Thanks.